Huh.
I figured out how to add a thumbnail to a stream.
Oh, poggies.
That's why we're not getting. That's why people aren't clicking. Is because we don't have cool thumbnails. So I'm
I was
gonna.
grinding a little bit of Belial, not in tower, just in practice mode. I learned a couple things.
I'm not gonna lie. The more I play Grand Blue, I think the less I like it overall.
You think so?
Yeah.
What about it?
It's hard for me to do 6XL, the dash command normal, because I'm on like I'm gonna blame my pad, but it is probably like just a skill issue, an issue with the way I'm moving my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But I normally am holding block just in general, right? So moving my thumb across to forward, I almost always get some kind of quarter circle input.
Mm.
Unless I put in like a huge delay between like shifting my phone. By the way, what's
Huh?
what's our title? Because I still have the old one.
Has anything new happened? Nothing really new has come out.
Nothing news. Nothing news. Come out.
Slow news day.
Slow day. Emoji. Sad face. But I need like the one that's. There we go. Okay.
What do you think about the dash mechanic or the dash into like a button mechanic in general? And like, like the standardized like mechanic like system mechanic wise, having that kind of system. You think it's good? Hmm. 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 It's such a it's really belligerent. But like I don't mind. I really wish it was just like a free 50-50 at this point. Like it's like he goes higher, he goes low. The plus frame thing is what annoys the shit out of me. Like, oh, here, start your free fucking offense whenever you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind making a guessing scenario start if you get the hit. But like, if someone blocks like your high or low mix up, that should be their chance to get a hit. But there's people just go for the medium option, which is just like free plus frames. I start my offense. Mhm. Hmm. Yeah, there's some stuff. I don't know. I have like I have qualms about games where you run in general, just like straight up running games. I just need to learn the intricacies of it because it just feels so uh like someone's always going to be in your face when someone's always being able to run. Like step dash, there's like pauses and shit. Mhm. I wish we could just like type a command and get like a picture because I want like Leffen in a newsboy cap, like he's an extra extra. Bro, did you see his tier list? He put Anji in S tier. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. What annoys me is they removed a lot of his guard point stuff because it was like uninteractive and like annoying to play against, and like you had to like kind of like a knowledge check, and then they just shift all that power into fucking one move, and it's like what? What? Either way, it'd be fun, even if we just took part of it.
All right.
Um, Not in the just Anji in the S tier. I don't know. I didn't see the other tiers. I just saw a quick clip from his thing, so I don't know how he's ranking other stuff. Uh, mhm, okay. I don't want to inflate the viewers. I want to know when someone's a real viewer or not. Fine, just lag my computer out. Lag my baby computer. Okay, let's see this tier list real fast. Man, Axel's moving up just because other characters are so trash. Hmm. 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 Okay. When he's attacking offense. Oh, well, that's the character in general is just weak as fuck if he doesn't have any. Hmm. 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 When Eddie's dead. Hmm. Mhm. 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 Yeah, I think.
Oh god damn it, whatever. Nobody gets to hear my
Wow,
opinions on Zato.
I muted myself because I didn't want to hear my voice. I'm sorry. I should have listened to see if you were.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's fine. You don't need to be my tester.
the the biggest thing I think is like when you look at the history of puppet characters throughout fighting games in general, they're very rarely in a positive state that people are happy about.
The
Like,
thing, I feel like
mhm.
Zato wasn't that far off by the end of season 2. You know, granted, that may have just become because like Happy Chaos came along and he was a bigger villain.
Yeah. Well, I think and I think this is one of the few games where you could probably have a puppet character not be too bad because there's a lot of uninteractive characters on offense in Guilty Gear. Speaking of which, there was one I wanted to talk about in general was fucking seeing Gold Lewis at the top of the charts makes me realize how strong does a big body need to be when he gets in to be top of the charts. You know what I'm saying? Like how, how strong would
Uh,
you have to make fucking Potemkin for him to be like, once he's in, it's game over, you know what I'm saying? Because that's Gold Lewis. Like he answers that question. If Gold Lewis gets you in a corner, you lost. Like
I
you
think
fucking lost, dog.
the big issue that Leffen describes is that like Gold Lewis's tools for getting you in the corner are fucking lame. Like he just
Mm-hmm.
does laser and you can't do anything about it. He's gonna be next
Yeah.
to you and you can't stop it. Except for Axel, and the Gold Lewis like has a sudden heart attack and can't jump or backdash. Then Axel can avoid it.
Okay.
Um, Otherwise, yeah, I think that's the big thing. Is like I think the big thing isn't how strong they are when they get in. It's the fact that Nago
Mm-hmm.
and Gold Lewis have ways where they can always get in,
Mm-hmm.
and Potemkin has tools to let him get in, but they're a lot more like touch and go than Gold
Hard read
Lewis.
kind of shit.
Yeah, like drone is another big topic of complaint and always has been. Well, not always, but
Mm-hmm.
like after Gold Lewis kind of got figured out a bit.
Yeah, man. Like, but it's like a character, like a character has like these moments of power, and like should Gold Lewis have like a laser? You know what I'm saying? That gives him a chance to like run his offense. Should they just make his meter like much bigger so it takes longer to reach his like power points?
He
So
just
he has to
gets
hold on
less
for
meter.
longer.
I think the big
Yeah.
issue, I think the big complaint is that like he just will always get laser, and once he gets laser, you can't do anything about it. Like there's just no interaction with it. Like Zato, you know, if you're gonna complain about Zato being non-interactive, Gold Lewis laser, nothing you can do. You are completely fucked. The Gold Lewis is going to close in. He has a
Yeah.
100% guaranteed way to enter his strong condition. How do you feel about Oscar's location? Because you seemed very impressed by him during the World Tour finals.
I think he's gonna go up. I honestly think that's a character with like whose skill ceiling is like absurd, and
Mm-hmm.
like when Guilty Gear is done, if they don't make any changes and Guilty Gear is finished, and like 2 years down the line, all you're gonna have is Asuka specialist. You're gonna have like fucking 3 Asuka specialists at the end of the fucking Guilty Gear universe.
I don't know that I buy that. I'll be honest. I think he's pretty well conditioned, pretty well positioned, because I think kind of like what we were talking about with the hypothetical Asuka matchup. Is that Asuka's still got a pretty big element of RNG. If he gets going, he's very snowbally especially in this patch where like this is kind of another claim he was making, is that like the start of season 3 with how Wild Assault worked on wall break made it very snowbally, so they sort of went a little too far in the other direction. In Leffen's opinion, I think it's fine, to be honest. And sort of made it so burst builds back so quickly, it's very difficult to maintain an advantage. But what I was saying, what I got completely sidetracked about, is that Asuka is very snowbally because he can mitigate a lot of the RNG if he just has time.
Yeah.
To just go through, get to the good deck and go through it and pick out a couple of good cards that will like buy him time, or get Exodia if he's really lucky. But I think that RNG is sort of always going to depress his top end potential.
I always just feel this way about certain characters. This is just historically what fighting games have shown me. If you give a character everything and its weakness is like low health, the character is going to be top tier eventually.
I mean, that was be a character. That was Nier in Grand Blue, or not Nier, that was 2B in Grand Blue. She kind of had every single tool, and she was still mid-tier when she came out, and then they nerfed her. So, from what I hear, she's pretty dog shit right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see.
Plus, he doesn't have every tool. He has one reversal that's kind of booty. The ice cube, the ice pillar. He only gets one of them, and it's kind of dog shit.
Okay, here's my real question: is like, there are certain states, like you said, Exodia, but there's a lot of states. I think just having the multiple cubes that rain down in the arc, I think that for the majority of the cast, once that is out, he's basically like gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. You know what I'm saying? Like once he has that like double cube arc in the air.
Like you say, like I don't disagree. I think there's a couple cards and a couple like hands and circumstances way less powerful than the Exodia combo that still basically help him guarantee the rest of the game. But like there's so much shit that people can do on just round start if he doesn't have like a strong hand.
Yeah, and I get that, because at the fundamental level, at the game we're playing, it's like a game of rock paper scissors, right? And like all you're trying to do is win the rock paper scissors, and like the real question is like for some characters, how much do they capitalize off one rock paper scissors interaction? Some people they win the fucking game. Some people like Axel, they put you in a corner and you get to like sit there for a minute. And if you're a good character, you'll probably still just fucking run them over, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of the distinction Leffen was kind of making, is that there's kind of three classes, because the third class is Otto, who's just kind of stuck in gay baby jail. But there's like characters who rely on their combo ending in a reset and starting in a strong position on that reset. And there's characters who just do a fuck ton of damage and punch you through the wall and you die.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and even if there's characters that don't do the damage, they still get such a benefit from like punching you through the wall that you probably lost the game. And I think Asuka has decent damage, but he's not like. But I think I put him in like the happy chaos kind of thing, where he's like, if he gets his shit going, you're kind of just stuck there for a long ass time. You're holding that for a while.
Yeah, that's, to be honest, that was actually Leffen's big issue with this, the balancing of the season as a whole, is that the class of character that just punches you through the wall with 1 million damage, with the way Wild Assault is, they still get a lot of really strong resets in Oki.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's more of a like top level thing. I think once you the further down you go, the distinction between these sort of two generalized classes of characters is still pretty well preserved. But I mean, like most things, it's all about like where the meta's gonna go, because nobody likes to lose on purpose. So if that's what the people at the top are doing, it's not going to trickle down. People are just going to converge to what's good. So it's probably I take this as a sign that perhaps some of the brute force characters have a little bit too much versatility or something to that effect.
Yeah. My question is, like, when you get rid of the damage, how do you equalize the characters that lock you in a corner? Like how, like the only way I see you make Bedman like top tier, right? Because the thing that annoys me about Bedman, his damage is all right, but it's not like crazy. Like you think like Bedman damage would be like fucking crazy for all the shit you got to do to get there. You know what I'm saying? You think like some of these characters' damage would be like fucking extraordinary. How do you equalize these characters? Do you add moves?
What I would do, and this is something like this isn't like my original OC idea because I'm just that big brained, is a lot of people want Wild Assault to remove Wild Assault giving hard knockdown period on wall break. I think that might be not a bad idea, but I think a more realistic one with the way Arxis seems to want the game to go would be to make it conditional on which type of Wild Assault you have. So you could do something with White Wild Assault, but make it less fucking stupid and give it a higher startup so you can react and throw or do something with it instead of just being low Wild Assault. I'm in my win condition now. Fuck you. Whenever you get bored, it's like everyone who has Wild Assault. It's like it's there in case they get bored of losing, so that way they can win. It's just like here's the I win button. Not really. It puts them in their win condition, but yeah,
I've been trying to learn how to use it more with because I feel like it's not like I mean it's kind of like a does everything kind of button too. Like you really lean on it for like single thing you can think of. I need a combo extension. Oh, okay, do that. If you have White Wild Assault, do I need to get in? I'll do that. There's just everything, damage, everything.
Yeah, but one thing I was thinking is something that's probably more in line with what Arxis wants to do is just to make the hard knockdown conditional on which type of Wild Assault. So you could just make it so Red Wild Assault doesn't have hard knockdown, but the others do. Remove White Wild Assault from the game, to be honest, and I won't cry about it. Fucking hate that bullshit. Playing against Pot as an Axel main, I should have a good advantage against Pot, and I think I do. Overall, all else equal. But every fucking Pot main knows the Axel matchup by heart. And whenever I get gapped by a Pot, I'm thinking to myself, thank fucking God this character isn't actually top tier, because he would be fucking insufferable. It's like what you were talking about, how like, why can't grapplers be top tier? Because man, I'm just imagining Pot, but someone who's like of equal skill to me instead of way better, being able to beat me. It would be fucking miserable. It would be so fucking insufferable. Oh my God.
Like, I feel like the thing, not just balance wise, but the thing I always think of when it comes to like if a grappler was gonna be good, right? I feel like the grappler still has to sit there in longer matches than anybody else. So like, if you really think about what they're doing,
not with White Wild Assault. What do you mean? What do you mean they had to sit there? You're talking about like, what are you talking about? Fucking Street Fighter 2? Fucking World Warrior Zangief sitting there back, staring at fucking Guile, both crouching, staring at each other from the whole screen away. No, dude, this is 2024, old man.
Speaking of that, I was watching Tampa Never Sleeps last night, and specifically, I was watching KOF 15, and I kind of like a game without too many mechanics. Kind of like a game where people are just hopping back and forth, and just like tossing out normals. Like what I realized when we're talking about this stuff, when we're talking about balancing, and you probably know more about me because you're higher in Guilty Gear like level. We both caveat are kind of like not anywhere near the top level.
Mhm.
But then you get to like the point where it's just like we haven't even talked about like the fucking characters. We're talking about like system mechanics defining these characters. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
and
mean,
I feel like this happens in a lot of games where it just like Grand Blue 66L like defines like half the cast. Street Fighter, fucking Heat Rush or whatever dash, whatever it's called, defines a lot of characters. Fucking Heat Smash, Heat Engagers define so much of Tekken. Maybe shit just needs to be stripped back, you know what I'm saying? So we can actually focus on like the dude. I know Guilty Gear, I'll give Guilty Gear, it's an anime game. Should have as much as it fucking wants. But maybe like not every game needs to have so much fucking shit in it, you know what I'm saying?
well, I feel like the thing with like I feel like you're underselling 6XL for Grand Blue because whenever I'm watching like any tournament, whenever I'm watching Grand Blue on TNS, like 6XL seems just fundamental to maintaining any kind of pressure for every character. So, you know.
And that's so homogenous, you know what I'm saying? Like it kind of like makes characters like I mean they're still interesting and they're still unique, but it just makes them like less of like when I was watching KOF, right? Rolf came on the screen, this big body grappler dude, and he had moves that were just like you run into me, I grab you, it's over. And like there's so many like defining characters in that game. And I feel like you get like the gimmicks define characters in other games, but like you don't feel their I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching on that one. I'm gonna pull back on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell for me because like from a spectator and low level like player's perspective, I think I can kind of get what you're getting at, especially with Grand Blue. But I wouldn't feel comfortable like sharing an opinion until I've got another like I'm not even at 100 hours on that game. But I'm always very cautious about giving an opinion without feeling like I've thought it through very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think there might be something to that with Grand Blue. Just as a spectator watching it, it seems so like every character just seems like they're just have to work in a bunch of 6XLs to keep their turn, and it's just like fundamental to everyone's kit. And that's a lot. It feels like that one button is holding up a lot of how the game is played currently. So I don't know.
Yeah, when we were playing it when we didn't know that, the game felt way cooler because like I guess you just felt the characters more. Like I think that's the whole point of fighting games is that the characters are supposed to shine more than anything. And I think this new generation of fighting games, the one thing that annoys me is I feel like it's system mechanics that are shining over characters sometimes. You know?
Well, I would agree with you, but I also remind you were well onto your post Guilty Gear Strive phase before they introduced Wild Assault.
Yeah.
So.
And I was just bitching about Heavy Chaos back then.
True. And you were not alone.
But yeah, again, I give Guilty Gear the caveat because like it's always been that kind of game. Like there's always been like 4 bars on the screen.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something to think about. Because I mean, I don't know. This is kind of like my weakness because I just talked about how I don't like giving an opinion unless I feel like I really know the subject matter. But I feel like that's a two-edged sword because I feel like with how familiar I am with Strive, I feel like I see a lot of things that aren't visible, and that's kind of its own sort of like bias, right? Because I remember we were talking about this during Evo last year, or maybe like 2 years ago, where I don't think it was your opinion, but you were sort of But it was like a talking point on like, you know, the sort of Reddit crowd that everyone who plays a character in Strive plays that character the same way. And I didn't feel that at all as someone who played a ton of Strive and still does. Like, I feel like I can tell the difference between a lot of people's. Like, a lot of the characters are... That's not to say, like, you can just show me gameplay of a character and I'll be able to know exactly who it is. But if you show me two different people playing two different characters, I could point out differences between their styles. And a lot of people insist that that's not the case. And, like, you know, it makes me sort of back up and question whether the only reason I see it is just because of how familiar I am with the game. And it's like... That doesn't necessarily make me wrong, but it does sort of put it in a new light if you have to be that familiar with the game to see it. Like, it means it's still not necessarily completely illegitimate to make that claim, you know?
Yeah, and for me, I don't think it's all character. Like, when you were showing me, like, Axel gameplay, and I think it's one of those things where lower tiers can't maybe not use the system mechanics as well as other characters, so you get to see more of, like, them shining through. When I was watching the other Axel and he was tossing out his tornadoes all the time and the moves he was using were different, I'm like, oh, that's a totally different Axel with a totally different playstyle. I can't tell you the difference between Happy Chaos is one of those like examples for me.
Yeah.
I can't see a difference at all.
Yeah. I do think Happy Chaos is kind of partially responsible for that reputation because the difference between Happy Chaos players is very subtle. And it's one of those things that's not very visually distinct unless you're playing against them. Because like, I've played against enough Happy Chaoses to be like, oh, hey, I would have seen a big old fucking counter hit if I was the one playing against them right now, because I would have pushed there and not there. And otherwise, there's not really much of a difference that's visually distinct. Plus, I just think visually, a lot of... I have said this before, and I will fucking repeat it ad nauseum. Happy Chaos's animations are fucking dog shit. None of these look like attacks. These all look like him just sort of like flailing his arms and legs around. It's so obnoxious. I can't visually parse half of these. Okay, I can now. But it took me like a fucking year after this piece of shit came out. What is this?
An anime game?
What is this?
Like, those are Street Fighter moves. And the other thing is, like, you think a character that was so dark kinda would have like it's a headbutt. It's a character that dark would have like colorful, obvious moves, you know what I'm saying? But like he's like his cape moves around him and then he swings his arm. It's all so fucking bad. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at vice versa, you look at another top tier, you look at fucking Asuka. Motherfucker is doing like, you can not help but tell two Oscars apart, you know what I'm saying? Because they just play like so wild. The only thing I will say is he has some tools that homogenize him a lot. Like we said, that like rate of like block move is just like so integral to the character that you're always gonna see that kind of shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also hard to tell because, again, the randomized element means like Asuka players, like in any particular situation, two different Asuka players can have entirely different tool sets of how to approach something. So it's hard to be like, well, this person would have done this thing in this situation, because it's so rare for two Asuka players to be in the exact same situation because they might have completely different hands. So I feel like it's hard to... I feel like it's hard to distinguish just because it's hard to like see what the alternative would have been in a situation unless you played the character a lot. I think that's the big thing with Asuka is it's very hard to like... It's very hard to train against him unless you know someone who's good, and very few people are willing to get good with this dude. So that doesn't help because it's hard to just understand like what an Asuka's risk return sort of spread looks like for any particular situation, because it's just inherently a lot more complex than other characters, and most people aren't even familiar with what a lot of those options are, and there's a lot more of them. So versus like Soul, where like you look at a picture of, if you take a screenshot of any particular frame in a match and there's a soul on screen, you can sort of look at where that soul is, what he's doing, and be like, okay, these are what his options are, and this is the risk return for all of them. Here's the optimal one, here's the second most, and you can sort of like figure out a person's personality by which option they're choosing, versus like if you tried to do the same thing with Asuka, there's just so many factors, there's so many options that like you can't parse out what is or isn't the most optimal, or if they're taking a risky play or if taking a safe play, because there's just so much, there's so many things he could do at any given time.
Yeah, and that's where like I think it's like I think if you're gonna have like a wacky game like Guilty Gear, that's where I would want the direction to go, where like the thing that makes Street Fighter to me is like every character you can kind of work out that percentage like very easily. You know what I'm saying? And with Guilty Gear, like there's so many times where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. And I think that the game's better when it leans in that direction versus like Happy Chaos. He's running his offense. This is the same offense I have seen. There should be more item throw characters in Guilty Gear is what I'm saying. Every character should be an item throw character. Just make fucking nonsense.
Is that how you would fix Leo to make him less fucking boring to watch? Actually, he's pretty hyped to watch, I'll be honest, but he's just kind of boring design-wise.
Another character that's like kind of like boring, but you can tell a difference between people who play him is definitely Nago. When I was watching Xerix play Nago, maybe because I've seen so much Nago, he played a lot different than other Nagos, and then Otashi plays different than Xerix.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar thing, because all of Nago's special moves are like very strong, so it's sort of hard to get that risk return table in your head, because like Nago has a lot of viable options at any given space because of how strong all the special moves are, because they're limited by blood meter. Blood gauge. So I've
come to respect Nago.
I still hate him, but I've come to terms with the fact years ago that it is purely irrational. But hey, whatever.
He seems so honest compared to DLC characters nowadays.
Oh, really? You think he's dishonest compared to like Elfelt? You think Elfelt is dishonest? She's the most honest motherfucker. This bitch doesn't even know what a lie is. She's got nothing. Her head is empty. She cannot conceive. She cannot conjugate the verb to lie.
I forget that she's in the game a lot.
The most telling admission of them all.
Bro, these fucking meme characters everyone memes, I don't see shit of them online. I don't see Bridgets. I don't see fucking Elfelts. I don't see none of these fucking I was so hyped for this character to come in the game. Wow. I see more Abba's brand new, but I see a lot more Abbas than I see any of those fucking characters.
I see a fair number of Bridgets. She's in a very strong place right now. Just as a very control-focused character with a lot of the tools that sort of character needs to do it. I run into Johnnies every now and again, but yeah, I don't run into Elfelts at all. I think she was kind of in an odd spot because I feel like a lot of people in Exerd, I feel like more people liked Elfelt in Exerd because of how strong she was and the way she played, because she was very mechanically complex and very strong from my understanding. I feel like she didn't really have that much of the Baiken/Ram effect of just having a huge body of fans that liked her visual design. Like, I feel like she just didn't really have that that much carryover compared to Baiken. Well, I heard about Baiken before I even knew what a Guilty Gear was. Well before I started playing fighting games, even slightly. I had no idea where she was from, but I've seen this big titty samurai anime lady before, But
I started the game on Baiken, and I may end it on Baiken. because I realized that she is like the true neutral character. You want Nooch, you go to the bike. And I think I may end up on the biking.
You and LK. I don't know. I don't think this is a Nooch character. I don't think you really. I don't think you have Nooch characters, especially not in this season of Guilty Gear. Just with the way Wild Assault is, I feel like everyone has too many. I feel like the neutral skips are too ubiquitous and too strong.
That's a big thing for me. Maybe my biggest issue. I don't think system mechanics should be movement. I don't think system mechanics should send you flying forward at least. Like King of Fighters is like has hops, super jumps, all that. That's cool. That's a system mechanic, whatever. But like a straight up just run at you button, pretty belligerent.
What if they made them reactable?
Then they'd be bad, wouldn't they?
I've heard a lot of people suggest, because a lot of people have the same complaint for Street Fighter 6, which I think is a bit more like, well, nothing's invalid, but I think it makes more sense for Street Fighter 6 since it's sort of differentiated from these sorts of games by being, you know, the honest, grounded, footsies, neutral based game. It kind of makes sense for them to try and make the neutral skip mechanic, Drive Rush, sort of worse.
Yeah.
Just straight up make it worse as a neutral skip tool, riskier at least. The issue I've heard that most people think the reason they're hesitating to pull that trigger is because it's also a combo tool, and they don't want to have everyone just relearn the combo structure of their characters from the ground up.
They fucked their game.
I don't know. I've heard some suggestions like give it a bit of a few frames of like screen freeze, so that way it isn't actually changing the frame data of like any of the combos because you're both frozen, but it just gives the other player a bit more time to react.
Yeah, man. Like there's gotta be a middle ground, and like Wild Assault is good, but like it's really short. Like it's stubby. Like it's kind of like really stubby.
I mean, the thing is like the power of White Wild Assault. You're perfectly fine just throwing that shit out neutral. Who gives a shit? Nobody can stop you or react. I feel like the real power of like Blue and Red Wild Assault mostly for the guard crush, is that like is not as a neutral skip tool in itself, but it turns all of your far-reaching buttons, which everyone has like at least one decently far button. It lets them turn any of those into neutral skip, because even if it's blocked, you just do it, you just swing it out there, and if it connects, whether it's block or hit, you just Wild Assault and keep going. Because on Red, you know, you're plus by a ton, and Blue sucks ass, so you just die. And then you just get to keep going. So the main thing isn't it like the issue isn't that it's stubby, it's just that it like combos off of everything and just lets you keep your turn. And I say issue, I don't think that's an issue, to be honest. I think Strive's fine kind of as it is. White Wild Assault needs to be fucking gutted, but other than that, I don't think it's too bad.
But think of most of the characters it would affect if they got rid of White Wild Assault. It would affect a lot of just bad characters even worse negatively, you know, if they made it like shit.
I don't want it to be shit. I want it to like have something you can actually do to stop it. If you like, because now you kind of need to be psychic to know that it's happening, to like run up and throw it. It has hyper armor, so you can't blast through it. And it guard crushes. Maybe just remove the guard crush. Nah, then it'd be so punishable on block, it'd be kind of embarrassing. I guess you could just make it like, yeah, you could just reduce the plus range, make it like +0 or something.
Yeah. I guess like I was thinking about this when we were talking about it, like the idea of the whole running at you kind of thing. I think the thing that bothers me about it is like this is just a play style thing from an old man. Um, when you had the step dash in all these games, or in like more neutral focus games, if you look at the game as like a series of rock paper scissors, right? Like the step dash in itself was like you throwing a rock and someone was jumping. If someone jumped at you when you threw a rock, they'd get paper and they would get a full punish combo because there were frames where you were like negative.
Yeah.
When everyone gets the run at you, they also get a lot of them get the dash block. I think in a lot of games there's this fucking dash block. So
Yeah.
like you throw papers and all you do is get like a slight, like the advantage is not. It's okay.
I was about to say, like, that's something that's been like that your problem is with dash blocking with that idea, which has been in the game since day one.
Get rid of dash block.
I feel like a lot of characters would suddenly become very, 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 very dog shit, and Axel would be a god. So, yeah, no, get rid of dash block. Sure.
Axel a rush down.
No, he'd be dedicated zoner. How do you close in if you can't dash block? How do you close into Axel?
Multiple dashes. Everyone has million with multiple air dashes.
You already can't like cancel your air dash into a block, so that doesn't, like, what the fuck does that do?
It adds more rock, paper, scissors. Okay, I jump into your air dash, right? You miss your move, right? Do I continue air dashing or do I come down? Now you gotta make the call.
It doesn't matter because, like, most of my stuff will cover either option. I have like 5P will cover either the ground approach or the instant air dash. You have to commit to going way the fuck up, at which point I have all the time to see you and anti-air you.
We'll just make Axel worse. Very easy.
Oh, you dirtbag.
I just want more points of interaction. All these games are just like fucking two-touch games. Every game's become a two-touch game. Speaking of fucking Granblue,
you ever see Makoto play in Third Strike? She can make the game two-touch.
Oh, there's a singular character that has a very specific playstyle in a game, dude. Every game's two-touch, dude. Every game. That was my one argument I had disagreement with Shay Jam. Look at Makoto, dude. She's two-touch. Look at fucking fucking what's his name? Akuma. He's two-touch.
Look at Yun. Look at Yun.
Huh?
Look at Yun.
Yun. Okay, if we're looking at like fucking Yoon, we're looking at like insane combos that most people aren't doing. You're looking at like frame perfect combi wombies, and I don't give a fuck about the pro scene.
Yeah. Well, in that case, why do you care about Granblue? Because, you know, there's people who are in the pro scene who can't string together these long ass fucking 20-second combos that kill you in 2 hits.
When I played Lucius, the only character I ever tried, I've only learned so far in Lucius, it took me 2 seconds to find a 60% combo. 2 fucking seconds. This is why these high damage games have to have like a fucking execution barrier, where it just becomes like babies smashing your face in.
Sounds like an old man. Sounds like old man coping.
I just want more points of interaction to show my skill. Why are you afraid of more points of interaction?
Because we can just play more games and get more points of interaction in more faster games.
No.
And those points of interactions will be in different contexts and novel positioning that makes them more interesting than getting stuck in a fucking corner until I guess right on Fireball or DP.
Dude, there is nothing wrong with you having to work your way out of a corner, and there's multiple options. Have you seen Street Fighter?
I don't think there is anything wrong with it either. I just don't want to be fucking stuck there for 20 fucking rounds of fucking guessing heads or tails. I'd rather go guess and be wrong and fucking die and move on with my life. I've gotten over like really the idea that okay. I'm not gonna straw man, but it is my preference, after having played a lot of Dota, for games that try and progress things more quickly and arrive at a conclusion sooner.
I think the problem with Dota for me was like, first of all, no fighting game is getting to Dota tier levels of time. That's one
And that's what I'm saying is like it's relative. It's all relative,
Yeah.
right? That's why I prefer it to be trying to be more brief and allowing me to move on with my life.
And second of all, the thing that annoys me about Dota is not just the time aspect, because I don't think I'd get as frustrated. I didn't play as much of StarCraft, but I would not get as frustrated as in a longer game that is one-on-one. It's the fact that it's one-on-one and someone else can lose you that time period. Not you. Some random person could just lose you that time that you put in because they're doing something dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, I have been inducted into fighting games with Strive, and now it has left a irremovable effect on my perception. And I'm always going to look at a game with combos that go on for more than like 3 to 5 seconds as kind of obnoxious. And I'm always going to prefer games that have higher damage and shorter super cutscenes. And I'm just never going to be able to shake that.
Block springs in Guilty Gear last as long as a combo in like these older games.
Yeah, but I'm not dying, so it's not as frustrating.
It's still a waste of my time.
Yeah, but I'm also building burst off of it. You know what I'm building whenever I get stuck in a long ass combo in Grand Blue?
What?
I think I'm building a little bit of meter, but I'm mainly just like building the blood pressure in some of my cerebral veins and like building up to a stroke. I'm exaggerating. They're not that long, and once I learn some decent combos instead of my dumb baby shit, I'll probably not mind it nearly as much. But for now, I'm frustrated, and my personal feelings matter.
No, you're 100% because there was a couple of days when I was playing Grand Blue where I was like, I'm not having fun playing this game at all. I'm not enjoying this part. And I think part of that's just the part, like, I think that's part of just like learning in any fighting game. You may like turn back around and be like, yeah, I love Grand Blue now that I learned this one aspect. But I was that way with Tekken 2 or Tekken 8 too. I was like, I don't even want to fucking play this video game anymore. This shit is just not fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you're giving yourself Stockholm. Like you're trying to teach yourself, like, yeah, I like getting fucking like heat smashed and heat engaged on. Yeah, dude, this is great. Dude, this is a high skill game right here. You gotta lie to yourself a little bit.
Okay, let's move. Speaking of Tekken 8, that's another thing we can talk about. How do you feel about the speed running of the honeymoon period for Tekken 8? Because it feels like everyone is really fucking mad about Tekken 8 after that last patch like a week or two ago.
I think there's two compounding factors. One, it's a lot of people's like, maybe not first Tekken, but like people got good at other fighting games. Now they're going to Tekken, which is like the game where you don't get good in like a day. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'm not getting good in a day, dude. I'm still getting fucking like I'm still getting schmixed by the dumbest shit in the fucking world. Well, yeah, that's fucking Tekken for you. And second of all, there's a bunch of like professional players in Tekken who may have a valid issue, may not, saying like this game's dog shit. Like Arslan Ash, one of the best fucking Tekken 7 players, is feeding these people.
He is not happy with the way with the state of Tekken 8. What was that tweet again? Like I think he said something like, I can't wait to like win Evo so that way people will finally like let me just say that Tekken 8 is bad. I'm like, dude, you can win every Evo from now until the end of time and people will still not let you just say you don't like a game.
Yeah, but, and I do feel like part of that, like, I don't disagree with Sajam when he has like a defense of newer games. I don't think that's wrong or anything. But I can't help but notice that a lot of influencers will not let anyone shit on the current game of the year, like the current fighting game season, and part of me feels like it's job security. Like if everyone starts hating on this new game, dude, like, and they get away from fighting games, that affects me. So they're kind of like saying to everyone, like, shut the fuck up and just enjoy what you got. And I'm not gonna say that about Sage Jam, but I see that with a lot of people, and I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I see a fair bit of the opposite. I feel like maybe for the first couple weeks the game has come out, but like I was kind of saying, like they speed ran that honeymoon period because like people are really mad about Street Fighter 6 now. Like everything is just drive rush, drive rush, drive rush. There's no neutral. This is for babies. This game sucks. Like I feel like it's almost kind of the opposite once you get past those first couple weeks, and people really just go like and like it was like that the out of context punk clip where he's just like, yeah, all these new kids are just playing the new game. We'd eat them alive if they were playing the old game.
Yeah, because it's the game they didn't practice at all.
Yeah,
and you didn't. But also, I will say, like this is old man me coming out too. People complained about Street Fighter V, right? That it was boring, that it was slow, but it doesn't physically damage your heart when you're so fucking angry at the video game because you got two-touched in a 50-50 mix that the game put you in out of a system mechanic that the motherfucker had to learn in 2 fucking seconds. I love just fucking getting beat smashed, heat engaged.
I haven't played Tekken. I was hoping you would bring this back to Guilty Gear so I could disprove you, but I haven't played Tekken at all, so I'm forced to just take your word and go like, yeah, I guess the game is dog shit.
Okay, I'll bring it back to Guilty Gear real fast. I love points of interaction. I love having 40 points of interaction instead of like 12.
I like having a small number of interactions and a larger number of total games, because then you get a wider variety of points of interaction. But that is my opinion, and I don't believe that every fighting game should be like Strive. That's why I brought up Street Fighter 6, because I think the argument to like try and slow it down is like probably one I would support if you like asked me what I think they should do with it. I mean, the first thing I would say is you're a fucking idiot, because I don't know shit for dick about Street Fighter. I barely know anything about Strive, and I have 1,000 hours in that game. And then I'd probably say like you should probably find a way to like try and slow it down a bit and make it more like more neutral focused. Try and make skipping neutral a more risky endeavor.
Yeah, and bring it back to another game, KOF. Like the actual KOF game, especially with like, I guess it's like probably it's not two touch. But like when you start getting to the other characters, like when you start getting to your second and third character, you can get like hit and then killed. Like that's like not like uncommon in KOF. The problem is like the tools for keep out are strong enough where you have to go about it in a methodical manner. Like I feel this not all characters. I feel like Axel is like a prime example of a different kind of aspect where it's like this character has so many tools that are good enough to play keep out that people actually have to slow the game down and come at you. But if you're playing certain characters in Guilty Gear and people want to monkey mode you, they're gonna fucking monkey mode you. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna ape you, and like that's part of it. Is like get good. Yeah, of course, I understand.
Yeah, just make the right decision. And then you won't get hit.
Dude. For me, it's like in a game. That's another thing, right? Because you go back to that thing where it's like it's rock paper scissors, right? All the time, rock paper scissors, rock paper scissors, rock paper scissors. You're gonna make the wrong decision at some point. Even if you're the best player at the game, you're gonna make the wrong decision at some point.
Not me. If you're someone who's not me, but I'm me, so. I always know exactly what my opponent's going to do next, and I always make the right decision.
Even if you get it wrong, they're halfway across the screen, so you actually have artificial more points of interaction. Your character adds points of interaction.
Except it's post-season 3, so even when they're halfway across the screen, they can just reach out with some button and then Wild Assault and fucking kill my dumb ass.
Do you think Wild Assault was a good addition to Guilty Gear? Let's ask that question.
Overall, I think yes. I think there needs to be some more tuning to it. I know the hottest takes here on Hindsight DP. But oh god, I need to remove that. But I think overall it's a good addition. It's very in line with what I think they want to do with Strive. I think the big point of like accessibility is the damage, which we've talked about. Is they want to get people to the point where the game is two touch sooner and quicker than in games like the older Guilty Gears, or like Street Fighter 3. That wasn't the example we used, but you know what I'm saying. Is it's not that they want to like make the game ceiling lower, they just want to raise the floor, which is pretty admirable, and it's sort of how a lot of like accessibility changes, not accessibility for like differently abled people, but you know what I mean, are justified. So I think it's in line with that. I don't know. It's still I think it's still too soon to say overall, because the first iteration of Wild Assault, the season 1 was incredibly degenerate. I know you weren't playing at that point, but the differences are that Wild Assault took away a lot more of your burst. Right now it takes away like a tenth. If that. And what other change did they do? I think they made burst just build back faster in general. Actually, let's see. Patch notes. I think the big thing is that burst bar is too cheap, and the other things you spend it on are less valuable compared to Wild Assault. That was more the issue with that was more the issue in the beginning of season 3. It is very close right now, I think, because you do see a lot of people making use of deflect shield. So I think the other uses for your burst meter are more valuable, or like the difference in value is a lot like closer than it was at launch, or at season 3 launch.
That's one positive I will say that we talked about, like being able to see the differences in players based on like how they play. The Wild Assault and Burst Shield like allow people, like when you're watching Slash and you watch how he plays against certain people, never bursting, eating everything because he needs to save the burst meter for da 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 da. Like that's like a character specific choice, but it's also like there's another maid that would have bursted like first thing, like the first of the round, you know, and it may be wrong, it may be right, but if that person becomes like the best like May player, suddenly that becomes like the way you play May is you burst on the off. Like I like that there's like those system mechanics do bring about like diversity in play style. I think that's really strong. But that's where like I think the game should have more point interaction personally. Maybe not Guilty Gear, but in general that kind of idea, because like playing around with meter and like having to run your person out of meter and shit like that is really like another mind game in of itself. Like you slowly walk this person down. They use their meter. They use everything. You're like a fucking like hunter. You know. You're like a fucking like fucking straight out of Africa hunting down a lion with their boys. Like you just walking this fucking lion down across like 5 miles. I like that kind of. I like that.
I think the comparison I would make is more, or the metaphor is more like attacking a castle where you've got to go through layers of defenses, and that's kind of always been how Strive has worked. Like honestly, before season 3, it was way more like that because burst was so strong, but it was like so hard to get. Like people like at a high level, basically every combo had to be specifically structured to be burst saved, so that way like every hit you could immediately block the burst if they bursted it, and it got really obnoxious, which I think that's the real thing you need to keep in mind when judging Wild Assault, is what it replaced. And season two's the way the meta revolved around burst. And keep in mind, like below pro play, this is sort of what I mean when like the best players in the world, you need to pay attention to them, not because like that's where you should balance the game, but because that's where the game's going to go in the long run. Below pro play, you didn't see that, but every match was still basically revolved around trading bursts. Because even if people weren't able to do the burst safe combos, like if you managed to successfully burst bait, no matter how flagrant and like obvious it was, you basically like you won that round. You won that round, and you had a much better chance for the next one. So even if like below pro play they didn't have the exact same dynamic, like they were operating with the same incentive structure, right? So just because it wasn't like as repetitive below pro play doesn't mean that there still wasn't a problem. So Wild Assault changed that in a very interesting way. Here's a change I just thought of, and I haven't thought through even slightly. What if running your burst meter to 0 delays its recharge, like a stamina meter in like a Souls game? So if you use both halves on Wild Assault, like it's gonna be a while before you have burst meter to spend on anything. Like it's much more committal.
I always liked that idea. I liked it in Street Fighter 2 with the burnout state of your drive gauge, like having this choice of like going all out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna it's fun, but I feel like it becomes this situation again where the best players just eventually figure out, okay, this is when I need to use all of my power. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where it always ends up is like, okay, he's at like 50%. Let me use both parts of my bar or whatever to get in this state where it gives me like a high chance of winning, or I just flat out win. And but here's like, I guess this goes up to an overarching point that I was thinking when you were talking about it, like raising the skill floor to meet like, but not lowering the skill ceiling. I think the idea of like, it's almost the idea of like heaven and earth meeting. Maybe like heaven sucks. You know what I'm saying? Maybe everyone playing perfectly. Like when you play fighting games to the highest like degree, they're not as fun as like two idiots smashing their faces together. Maybe like fighting games peaked before the internet because like there was no like information and you were just playing with your boys tossing fireballs at each other. Maybe that like maybe we were blessed. Maybe we were in the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? And now we're in like cursed lands, and it's always gonna be bad. It's always gonna be bad.
What does that make me? Because like I came into Streb and I was just having a good time throwing stuff out. And that's well past the internet information availability age.
It makes you a Nephilim. Get out of here, you child of angels and devils.
No, we are set to inherit the earth, child of man. We will replace you with our sweaty try-hard zoomers and our devil robot hand fingers that outperform your crusty, rusty, musty, and dusty boomer joints that can't keep up.
You're gonna be in the same spot 2 years from now. You're gonna be like, dude, this new Guilty Gear game is so bullshit.
So
Wild Assault version 2 is so
bullshit. Axel is awful. I can't play him the exact same way I used to. Ugh.
This full screen 0.5 a second like dash across the screen that instantly puts you into a 60% combo is so bullshit. And some kid's gonna tell you, dude, it's just like how the game's played now. Get used to
it. That's already where we are, though. I already had to deal with that from Chip and Abba when she goes into mode. And Sin, to an extent.
Again, Abba's one of those characters that I like because she adds those points of interaction, or she stops all interaction. Either you get like, either you don't get your shit off and you let your opponent have the time of their life. They get to push so many buttons while you're just sitting there waiting for your opportunity, or you get your shit off and you just win the fucking video game.
That's auto, but nobody wants to admit it.
Maybe he should be able to put Eddie away, like Emma does with her mode. Maybe she should be able to put it away for mode.
I mean, he
I
can
don't know if
already
he
do
brought that
that.
up.
He can already, yeah, we already, like, that's, Zotter's had that since day one. He can put Eddie away and keep the meter.
Why does that, like, why is he, like, why, is there, can he do that off a combo? Can you, like, decide to put Eddie away at the end of a combo string to, like, you know, preserve meter?
I think it doesn't refund it. It just lets him summon him back out. Because
You know,
normally,
maybe it should refund some.
Mm,
I'll refund some.
yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I still think I like the idea of like giving him a special move that gives him another like way to get Eddie meter back whenever he's in red state, the red mode.
Yeah, there's a, or he has two forms, right? Where he can decide, right?